Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another beautiful day. Here we're talking about Mr. Pandaria. We're going to be going over every single gem and the best armor and the upgrades and everything you need to know basically about those things for Mr. Pandaria Remix. So the first thing here that we're going to be looking at is going to be your gems. So you have four different types of gems. You have your prismatic gems, cogwheel gems, tinker gems, and you have meta gems. Now there are only a set amount of the tinker, meta, and cogwheel gems, so you can't get like two of the same one. However, you can get obviously more than two of the same one for the prismatic gems. Now the way the prismatic gems work is you started out with a, let's say, level 1, which is an uncommon gem. Then you get three of those together of the same kind and it makes a rare gem, which is +2, and then you can combine three of those together and you get an epic gem, which is a +3, and then when you have three epic gems together, it creates a +4 legendary gem. Alrighty, so the first thing that we're going to go over here with gems is going to go ahead and be stacking stats for the gems. So for example here, let's just go ahead and take all these pieces out. You're going to have 665 leech. We're going to add one. That is 1,198. It's essentially converted to 532. If we add another piece on here, you're going to see it's going to be the exact same modifier. And we add the third piece on here, you see it's the same modifier again. Now, if we go ahead and upgrade this piece, you're going to go here to the item upgrader. Let's just move it one up. It now has an extra 600 leech on it. So we're going to take this out and you're going to see that there's only 200 leech here. So if we go and add one piece of leech gear back onto it, you're going to see that it is 1,496. Now, if we do that math here, you can see that the actual modifier changes. So your item level does represent the items there as well. Another thing to keep in mind, however, is that the stacking actually stacks based off the original item stats. So for example, let's say we put it here into a ring. It has no stats in it, and we'll go ahead and put in here. And you're going to notice that the modifier is slightly different. Each piece here is only giving 582 instead of 665. So it does scale a little bit with a percent basis off of what's already there, as well as the item level, because you can see here the items level is actually higher than this item level here by quite a bit. Now next you're going to be asking about upgrading items. So here we're going to go over to the upgrade station. You just go ahead and drag a piece of armor in and you're going to notice it costs quite a bit. So for example, that's for almost 400 coins. This is another 400 coins, and the girdle here is another 400 coins as well. So it's quite expensive to have green items. Now if you actually find blue items, keep those because the upgrade cost is significantly less. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade this. You can see it's way different. Now, the next tier here, you're like, oh, wait, it's way expensive. But if you go here to the tier of 360, you're going to see it's even more expensive. So it's still about double the cost of what a blue item is. Now, next thing to keep in mind here is going to be your tinker gems. Now, there are three different types of tinker gems. You have your healing tinker gems, you have your DPS, and you have your tanking set of tinker gems. There are most definitely best in slot gems for your class. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them here because it is insane. There's tons of different combinations here. However, I'll give you kind of like the baseline of what you want, and then you'll have to just kind of modify that based off of what your actual class is. And I'm going to show that right here. Now, next off, we have your cogwheel gems. Now, the cogwheel gems are actually placed in the feet item here. Every one of them has just one from what I've seen so far. I don't know if you upgrade your gear to like 390 or something like that, if it'll be way better or not, but we'll see. The best ones that I found so far is honestly going to go ahead and be Blink for casters. Blink is just great. You can also have Spearwalker's Grace, which allows you to cast while moving. You also have Disengage, which shoots you backwards. You have Heroic Leap, which gives you forwards. You also have an interesting cogwheel one here, which I'm assuming is for tanks. It's the Death Pact. You essentially sacrifice 20% of your health and you get a 200% shield. So that is pretty useful. And next here we have your meta gem. Now your meta gem is your head slot piece. It is essentially a massive damage or healing piece, and it's really quite good. Now the best four that I have noticed by far are going to be the Oblivion Sphere, the Ward of Salvation, the Bulwark of the Black Ox, and the Thundering Orb. Now, my personal preference is going to be the Oblivion Sphere and the Ward of Salvation for raids, because they are actually overpowered and broken right now. If everyone in the raid has the Oblivion Sphere equipped and uses it at the same time on pull after Bloodlust or whatnot, it actually stacks. So you have 10 people and you're just stacking 15%, that boss is going to be taking a crap ton of damage. So that is pretty good. Now, my most preferential one here is going to be the Ward of Salvation. Now you're going to think, oh, well, it just gives like healing and shield or whatever. And now, yes, while that is true, you also have the very last paragraph, which I'll read out to you, which is when the ward expires, it explodes, inflicting holy damage equal to the remaining absorbed to all enemies within 40 yards. Now, this actually stacks. If everyone in the raid puts it on the same target and all the healers below their cooldowns at the same time on the person that's not the tank, that exact damage is going to be delivered onto the boss. Now, I ran a raid yesterday with that exact same strategy, and we did about 50 to 60 million to the boss, so we basically got him half health in the first 10 seconds of the fight, along with haste, so that is pretty useful. Next, we're going to go over how to get your rings and how to get your trinkets. Now, if you don't have rings and trinkets, it's going to be severely holding you back, especially from your item level, and you won't be able to upgrade your gear any further, because as you can see here, if I want to upgrade my piece of gear here to 346, I need to have all items already up to 346, which means that I actually need to get all of my gear here to 346, and I need a neck piece. So now for each of your characters, you're going to have to get 4 different achievements done in order to unlock your rings and trinkets. Now, if you just click Y and go to achievements, you can find it right there. So the first here is going to be escalation. You need to complete all of these things with the time running events. So these are essentially just scenarios that you need to complete. Then you also have to get to level 70, which is your time runner right here. And then you have your heroic scenarios for Pandaria. And then you have heroic Pandaria dungeons. Now you can actually queue for them right here. And I would severely suggest running all of them as soon as you can, because the scaling later on in the later levels is going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, and just get them done as soon as you can. The entire list for them is going to be found here, so you just have to go to Heroic Pandaria Dungeons, and it'll tell you the ones that you have to run. Now, obviously, not all of them are available at level 10. However, there are 2 tiers. One is level 10 to 70. The other is level 40 to 70. So I would get them done as soon as you get to level 40. Next thing to keep in mind here is that your currency does not actually translate over to your other characters. So for example, I have 34 bronze on this character, and if you look at my currency here, I have 966. Now, the last thing to keep in mind here is going to be your cape. Your cape has various different stats on it depending on what dungeons you ran, LFG, heroic dungeon, normal dungeon, scenarios, and also how many mobs you have grinded up. Now, there used to be a great little exploit with the frogs. Essentially, you go to the Timeless Isles and you would just farm frogs in a group, and you'd be able to get something like 100,000 copper coins and different things like that to get different threads and whatnot. However, that's unfortunately been patched by Blizzard, so you'll no longer be getting the lesser charms. Another thing that you can do currently, however, it's not nearly as good, is going to be the goat farm. Now, there's a little goat farm that you can go to that's just next to the farm right here. And unfortunately, you do kind of need to do this right now because heroic and especially mythic raids are kind of insane right now, and even the later bosses in like Throne of Thunder and Siege of Orgrimmar are very hard to do right now, especially without doing any cheese strategies such as the Ward of Salvation one, just because of how much HP the bosses have. The different adds are scaled kind of weirdly and whatnot. Now, hopefully this is something that they fix in time, but generally, as we know, Blizzard, they will take a little bit of a long time to actually go ahead and fix it. And that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace out for now.